Hello everyone, this is Kay, not Max, with Fiction Rant bringing you today's topic on why Legend of Dragoon is an underrated gem you should play. I feel like for a long time there were only two responses I'd get when I'd bring up this game. It's either, "Oh yeah, that game was my absolute favorite growing up," or, "What's that?" Now, at least, there's a growing number of folks Dragoon curious, and with its addition to the PS4 store last year, it's more accessible than ever. So, what is The Legend of Dragoon? Simply put, it's a turn-based RPG released in the Final Fantasy VII era designed to be a competitor to the Final Fantasy series. However, Sony had little interest in the planned sequel for the game, and perhaps just wanted to milk their partner, Square Enix's juicy Final Fantasy cash cow instead of gambling with their own, and it was dropped. 20 years later, fans still have not seen a sequel, prequel, or remaster. The story plays out like many JRPGs. You start as a single weak character, and eventually you slay a god. The characters are unique, they're all color-coded, which is important in PS1-era graphics, and nuanced with their own stories and reasons for being with the party. No main party character is left on the sidelines without a continued plot relevance to the story. The plot progresses at a pace that makes sense, and it holds a lot of lore that leaves space to explore further without leaving you confused in the present. Most of the lore is main story driven, but there are plenty of folks to talk to in order to make the world feel a little bit more fleshed out. Similar to Final Fantasy VII, a beloved character dies in Disc 1. I've heard grown men confess that Aerith's death in Final Fantasy VII was sad, but they all out bawled when this character dies in Legend of Dragoon. However, unlike Final Fantasy VII, you're not stuck having wasted time, experience, and resources on a character you're never going to see again. Instead, the game passes on their equipment, abilities, and experience to a new member of the party. This happens once more in the game, though the second character is removed as a non-death to further the plot. So, why else do I like this game so much? The primary reason is its unique turn-based combat system. See, rather than just selecting an ability and watch them slash an enemy on the screen, you have a mini rhythm-esque style game with each attack called an addition. Successfully completing an addition grants you more damage and or spirit points to charge your Dragoon form. If this wasn't unique enough, an enemy could counterattack certain additions, which would alter which button you'd have to press during the sequence. This kept combat engaging and less brainless than other JRPGs of the era. Each addition also had its own unique voice line once you completed it, and by leveling up all of a character's additions, you unlocked their ultimate abilities that were often the most challenging to complete, but also the most rewarding in terms of SP gain and attack damage. Items in game scaled with you, so a healing potion always healed half your health. Purifiers always recovered status condition, and attack items allowed you to aggressively spam a key for a longer amount of time to do more damage the more you leveled up. There was no need to sell off all of your potions because they were obsolete at the end of the game. However, the item system did have a pretty hefty downside of being limited to 32. Equipment was tracked separately, of course, and had no limits that I encountered, but it had some different unfortunate downsides of being sortable only by character instead of by character and item slot. So the more equipment you gathered, the harder the traversal would be the longer you played the game. Also unheard of at the time were fully voiced cutscenes. It had some pretty dreadful voice acting, but I was 10 or something, I didn't care, and it was the coolest thing ever. The soundtrack was beautiful, and the boss fight music was just absolutely bangin'. I mean, listen to how this fight starts. You knew the fight was serious when this started playing on the black screen before the attack screen loaded. The menu music was also rockin', and it was honestly not the worst thing in the world to just sit on the pause screen and jam for a bit. As with most older games, however, it was plagued with a few issues. English translation was poor at times. I recall the word "the" being misspelled, and I caught a few grammar issues as I would read the text aloud to my sister as I played. If you spent the hours to grind up your additions, fights could easily be trivialized, and magic was OPAF if you knew which characters to use them on and when. The most game-breaking bug that hit my hard copy discs was the occasional permanent game freeze if you used your Dragoon form. In a game called Legend of Dragoon, it was always a bit disappointing to just stare at the option on my attack bar without ever being able to use it for fear of just bricking the fight. Good news, though, is that the PSN release of the game fixed that bug. The final act of the game felt just a little rushed as well, and the final fight was plagued with random freezes that took an unhealthy amount of restarts to complete. Also, this bug was fixed with the PSN release. Open world lovers will also be disappointed with the world map traversal, which is a dotted line from location to location, but this wasn't something that ever bothered me personally. All in all, Legend of Dragoon is a game near and dear to my heart. The only game that might come close to the number of replays I have of this 4-disc game is the Ocarina of Time, but that's a different system, and you don't need me to tell you how iconic of a game it is. But what do you all think? Have you played Legend of Dragoon before, or have I intrigued you enough to entice you to give it a try? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, live long and prosper, and may the Force be with you.